You guys mixing it up on us a little bit here. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll stay sharp. Good morning. As we return to Washington, one thing remains crystal clear. Republicans are out of touch with American people. While Americans are bracing for high prices heading into the summer, the Secretary of Transportation filmed a reality TV trip with his family. The Defense Secretary is asking Congress for $500 billion more in spending, all while families struggle to keep a roof over their head and to feed their families. Republicans want to spend $1 billion on a ballroom that most people will never set foot in. And while families are making the impossible decisions about affording their prescription drugs or their groceries this week, Republicans are giving ICE another $70 billion to terrorize our communities. There's a theme here. Republicans are ready to spend, just not on anything that will make life more affordable for you. Trump and House Republicans are more than happy to use taxpayer funds to bail out their billionaire friends or the businesses that they stand to benefit from. But when it comes to actual things that the American people want, like lowering gas prices, affordable health care, or groceries that don't cost an arm and a leg, Republicans are turning their backs on the people that they represent. Republicans know that they are doing things that are harmful to the American family, and they just don't care. The president said yesterday, I don't think about Americans' financial situations. I don't think about anybody. I don't think truer words could be said on the South Lawn than what the president said yesterday when he was asked on the war's effect on prices that everyday Americans are facing. Republicans only care about staying in power. And since they know they can't win on these policies and their agenda, they're trying to rig the elections. They've gutted the Voting Rights Act, and now they're actively gutting minority districts across the South. Republicans can cheat all they want, but the American people are smart. They see what is ahead of them, and they see that Republicans are lying time and time again to hold and consolidate power. And they know that Republicans are making things worse for them and their family. They know who has their interests at heart, and that's why we're confident that we will have success later in the year. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. We have a cost of living emergency. The American people are drowning in debt and in bills. We know from the data that inflation has now surged to 3.8%. The highest in 3 years. We also know that gas and diesel prices are skyrocketing. We have record high diesel prices, the highest in the history of the United States, in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And what are Trump and Republicans doing about this? What are they focused on? Well, a $1 billion White House ballroom, a giant arch in Washington, D.C. to honor Trump, and putting Trump's face on U.S. passports. And then yesterday, as Chairman Aguilar noted, Trump said the quiet part out loud. When asked by a reporter, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal with Iran? The president said, quote, not even a little bit, end quote. A little bit later, Trump also says, I don't think about Americans' financial situation. And so when the President of the United States doesn't think about Americans' financial situation, and when the Republicans here are focused on other issues, this is what happens. Your prices go up. So I'm going to give you some examples. $8 worth of coffee from a grocery store last year is now costing $9.48, an 18.5% inflation rate. $3 worth of tomatoes now cost $4.19, which is a 39.7% inflation rate. A $20 steak from a grocery store last year now costs $23.22, a 16.1% inflation rate. And a $300 flight last year now costs $362, which is a 20.7% inflation rate. And as we all know, with gas prices skyrocketing, $50 worth of gas last year now costs $64.20, which is a 28.4% inflation rate. We need Trump Republicans to start focusing on the economy. Unfortunately, they're unwilling to do that. November is coming.
Questions? Max?
Thanks. We're under a month out from the California governor's race. Your colleague, Ms. Miller, was endorsed Javier Becerra in that race. Do you have any plans to endorse? And I know you've endorsed in statewide races in the past. I know you backed Adam Schiff for Senate. So are you going to jump in here between now and June 2nd?
No, I think that the field is separating. I've said before that I think Javier Becerra is immensely qualified for the position. I think he's separating from the field. I look forward to supporting a Democrat on the ballot in November. Mariana?
Thank you. While you all were away, we saw the Virginia Supreme Court dismiss the redistricting map there. Obviously, the VRA has also been struck down in any way. A lot of conversations, a lot of opinions among members about how to win back the majority now that it looks like there are a number of Republican advantages down in the South. I just wanted to get a sense from you about the general mood within the caucus. How are you all making sure that every member does their part to win back the majority, and also potentially the grappling with the reality that there are likely to be less CBC members next Congress, even if you all are able to win back the balance?
Yeah, we spoke this morning in caucus about that, and I think Leader Jeffries did an amazing job, and Whip Clark did the same, reiterating to our members, everybody here has to do everything. We don't have the luxury of saying, oh, let's do this. Let's go out and win these one or two districts, or I'm going to help the candidate that is close geographically, the closest red to blue or open seat next to me. I'm going to help. No, we have to help everybody. We have to help the team. And you have to look around that room and you have to decide, do we want to win the majority? Because we have to help each other. And a lot of our colleagues are under attack. They're under attack by Republican states who are now, redistricting sometimes, and in Louisiana, while ballots are already being cast. They're waiting to the next election. They're doing it while the current election is still going. That is the most appalling thing, but this isn't necessarily, and the CBC has said this as well. This isn't just about black districts. This is about our country. This is about our country being better when there is fair representation. And Republicans are systematically going district by district and gutting black districts, and they're displacing them. They're packing and cracking them to ensure that their candidates win. It's appalling, and we have to speak out about it. But ultimately, we're just going to have to win, and we're going to have to go out and we're going to have to win these seats, and that's what we're doing. Are we disappointed in Virginia and in the VRA? Yes and yes. Fine, let's move on. Let's win these districts, because I'll tell you, we're going to win seats. We're going to pick up seats in Virginia with or without the redistricting changes. Potentially two. I would say at least one. I don't think Kiggins is doing anything to help ourselves this week, and we can talk about that too. We're going to pick up seats in Virginia. We're going to pick up seats around the country. We're raising candidates, and I know that we're going to win the majority. And this was never going to be, 50 or 60 seats, blowing in the wind. We always knew this was going to come down to a handful of seats. And that's what we've been planning to do. And that's what we have been focused on and we're going to have success because the American people are just fed up. The Republicans are talking about ballrooms and redistricting states. And we're talking about lowering prices and, $6, $7 gas around the country. A war that is by choice, a president who is unhinged and doesn't care about you. That's what this election will come down to in November.
The evidence is clear. Chief Justice John Roberts is an extreme political actor that has led the most partisan Supreme Court in U.S. history. Every single decision by the U.S. Supreme Court happens to benefit Republicans politically. And it is completely hypocritical because recently the U.S. Supreme Court said, we can't interfere in states' elections when it's too close to the election. And they said that because had they interfered and done the right thing, it would have helped Democrats. And they said, we can't do it because it's too close to the election. And then with their recent decision in Calais, not only do they gut the Voting Rights Act, they also do it very close to the election. And they take the unprecedented step of expediting their decision specifically to interfere in state elections. So this is a radical Supreme Court that is making decisions simply to benefit Republicans. It's going to usher in massive Supreme Court reform when Democrats take control. And that will be because of the actions of extreme political actor John Roberts in this partisan Supreme Court.
Nick, then Michael.
There's the E15 bill coming up this afternoon. Republicans aren't whipping it. I noticed that Democrats aren't necessarily either. How are you planning to vote on this?
This is an issue that Republicans have created for themselves. Mike Johnson walked into every room before the last break, and he made every promise he could to every faction within the Republican conference. And so that's what we see taking place is now they, include provisions in the Farm Bill. They got to pull things out. They got to vote on it on the side. It's just a product of the chaos. Look, E15 can be a good policy. It can help some farmers and it can reduce emissions. This isn't the right vehicle to address that, but there are different views based generally on geography of where members reside, and so that's why on our side we're letting members vote how they want on the issue. Michael,
following up really quickly on the gas issue, do you support a gas tax holiday? That's another issue that's being discussed given President Trump's recent.
I don't know if we're going to be given an opportunity to vote on this, right? Speaker Johnson has not committed that. There are active conversations within the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. That's probably the venue in which it is best to address it. I think that there are always concerns with a gas tax holiday because you have the potential to hurt the budgets for the roads that need to be repaired. I'm a big believer in investing in infrastructure and repairing those roads. The gas tax is a user tax meant to go completely to fix our streets and roads. I understand that Americans are struggling, and I'm willing to consider what the options are. Maybe we divert some of the tariff money that the president doesn't want to talk about into backfilling the Highway Trust Fund. If we go this route, that might be something. So it depends on the structure of how it is. But at the end of the day, what will bring relief for gas prices is if the president ends this war of choice. And it's not going to happen quickly. But that's ultimately what the president has done here is he has put another tax on the American people. In addition to tariffs, in addition to taking their health care away, he has added more cost to them with this reckless war of choice.
And just because you mentioned her, did Jim Higgins come up in caucus, and will the caucus be doing anything formally to try to?
I think many of us have commented, and on social media on that incident. I think it is shameful, disgraceful that she, allowed herself to be in a conversation with someone with such racist views. But that's the coalition that they need to win, and so that's probably the calculus that she had.
Following up on redistricting, Democrats will have some opportunities after 2026 to pick up new districts. Can you talk a little bit about that and in what ways that party might take advantage of those opportunities ahead of the 2028 election?
One election at a time. We're focused on 2026 and the landscape that's in front of us. Vice Chair Lou and I, with Zoe Lofgren and Nancy Pelosi in the California delegation, we did our part on the redistricting side. I think to shine a light on the rigged elections that Texas was leading. And we have said throughout that all options should be on the table, and other states that have redistricting commissions should be prepared to have conversations with their legislature and their voters in response to what we're seeing in the South. And I think all of that is completely fair. In the meantime, though, we got to run and we got to win in 26, but we should absolutely be ready to have those conversations about what needs to be in place to ensure that there are free and fair elections and that Republicans can't rig their way to a majority for more cycles to come.
I support independent redistricting commissions. I believe all 50 states should have them, but it is insanity only for blue states to have independent redistricting commissions. And That is not very good at all because it's tying the hands of blue states. And my view is if only blue states have independent redistricting commissions, that needs to change. And the blue states need to think of other ways to do this.
Are Democrats still pursuing redistricting opportunities ahead of 2026? And if so, where? Or is this fight now about winning in districts as they lie now and fighting in the courts?
I think the landscape is very limited on blue states that we can affect who haven't had primaries. We're focused on the battlefield ahead, and then to have conversations about what it looks like in 2028. I think that there might be only one that theoretically could do it if every star aligned in Maryland, but every state. And Leader Jeffries has talked about the states specifically that we should have conversations about, but I think the field is pretty well set right now, and let's just go win some races and talk to the American people. And I'm confident that when they are weighing the CNN 30% favorable rating that the president has on the economy, 40%, 40 points underwater. I mean, these are terrible numbers for them. And it's our opportunity to talk to the American people about what's at stake in November.
President Trump came out this week in favor of the House passing the Senate's housing bill. What is your leadership's position on an affordable housing package? Should the House amend its own version, send it back to the Senate? Should they take up the Senate bill?
Those are active conversations. French Hill and Maxine Waters are having conversations about the House passed bill, Road to Housing, 21st Century Housing. Look, I think, we have continued to say that we have a housing crisis in this country, and there is more that can be done at the state and local level. And there is some that can be done by us. And I think that we need to have conversations about the best pieces of each of the provisions that have come out, and put those together in a package that can move. We passed with strong bipartisan support. The House side bill, the Senate bill came over, 89-10. So I think both chambers have thoughts. Obviously, it's on Republican leadership to decide whether they want this to be a bipartisan bill and what they want to include. And we stand active and ready to work with them on that. This is an issue that deserves to be addressed. We'll see. At every opportunity, though, and this is how we feel, at every opportunity, Republicans have chosen to go full crazy, full chaos to try to get more votes on their side, and they have turned away bipartisan attempts. And so we'll see if that holds. But those are active conversations within the House Financial Services Committee. Thank you so much.